The sheriff came to my door at 9:17 on a Tuesday morning with an eviction order in his hand. Across the street, my own daughter Rachel stood beside her husband Derek, watching me lose the home I had built with my own hands. Derek was filming everything on his phone beside a brand-new Porsche. They thought they were recording the downfall of a helpless 70-year-old widower. They had no idea the deed they were using was worthless, and the recording I had secretly made of Rachel could put them both behind bars. My name is Harrison Cole. I am 70 years old, a retired petroleum engineer, and I live on 5 acres outside Austin, Texas. My wife and I built that house together and raised Rachel there. After my wife died, the property became the last place that connected me to her. I never imagined that the daughter I had spent my life protecting would eventually try to take it from me. It started when Rachel and Derek arrived one rainy evening, claiming Derek Technology Company was collapsing. He said a lawsuit had frozen his accounts, and he needed a huge emergency loan to survive. Rachel cried and reminded me of promises I had made to her mother. I offered them my savings, but Derek said cash would not be enough. Instead, he suggested using my property as temporary collateral. He promised I could stay in my home and nothing would change. I believed him. The next morning, Derek brought a notary and a stack of documents. He marked the pages I needed to sign and assured me everything was routine. I was focused on helping my daughter, so I signed without realizing that one of those documents supposedly transferred my 5 acres to Derek Company. Weeks later, a surveyor arrived and told me Sutton Holdings was preparing to demolish my house for a luxury development. I called Rachel, but her explanation made no sense. Then I saw Derek driving a Porsche. These people supposedly had frozen accounts and financial problems, yet somehow they were spending money like millionaires. That was when I stopped thinking like a father and started thinking like an engineer. I searched for evidence and found shredded documents in their trash. After piecing them together, I discovered the truth. Their plan had been prepared months earlier. They intended to destroy my home, develop the land, and use it as collateral for a $2.5 million loan. They had not come to me for help. They had come to steal from me. I took everything to my attorney, Jonathan Brooks. He examined the documents, and then I reminded him of something Derek did not know. Years earlier, my wife and I had placed the property inside an irrevocable blind trust. I could live there, but I could not legally sell or transfer it. Jonathan looked at me and said the deed Derek was using was worthless. Derek had used property he did not own to obtain millions from a bank, but we needed proof that Rachel knew about the scheme, so I pretended to become confused. Started forgetting things, repeating questions, and acting like age and grief had destroyed my ability to understand what was happening. Rachel became careless because she believed I could no longer fight back. Then one afternoon, I overheard her calling Derek. She said I was too confused to challenge them. Then she discussed stopping my expensive heart medication and placing me in a cheap facility where nobody would pay attention. To me, she was talking about my death, like it was part of their financial plan. That was the moment I stopped seeing her as the daughter I remembered. I preserved the recording and gave everything to my attorney. Then I waited. Tuesday. Morning finally arrived. The sheriff came with an eviction order. Derek stood across the street filming me, while Rachel watched beside him. The deputy explained that Sutton Holdings was listed as the property owner. I looked at the document and calmly asked how they could own land protected inside an irrevocable trust. The deputy froze. Derek stopped smiling. Then I walked onto my porch, connected my phone to a speaker, and pressed play. Rachel's voice filled the street. Her conversation exposed the property scheme and her plan involving my medication. Then Derek's voice followed, bragging about the $2.5 million loan and laughing about how easily they had manipulated me. Derek suddenly stopped recording. The deputy called for backup. Derek ran toward his Porsche, but officers surrounded him. Rachel started crying and begging me to stop. She reminded me that she was my daughter and claimed she loved me, but I had already heard what she said when she thought I was helpless. Minutes later, federal agents arrived with Jonathan. The entire scheme collapsed. The property was never legally theirs. The deed could not transfer ownership. The bank had received fraudulent information, and their own conversations were now evidence. Derek and Rachel were arrested. Their financial records were investigated. Their assets were seized, and eventually both received lengthy federal prison sentences. Rachel begged me to save her. For a moment, I remembered the little girl who used to run across those 5 acres. I remembered carrying her on my shoulders and watching my wife smile from the porch. But memories cannot erase choices. I told Rachel that she had not simply tried to steal my property. She had decided my life was worth less than the money she wanted. I could forgive mistakes, but I could never pretend that planning for my death was one. I eventually sold the property and moved to Florida. I used part of the money to create a foundation helping elderly people afford essential medication. The very thing Rachel planned to use against me became the reason I began protecting others. Looking back, I understand something now. Derek and Rachel thought my age made me weak. They believed kindness meant stupidity, and trust meant helplessness. They were wrong. Age had given me patience. Derek thought he was filming an old man losing everything that Tuesday morning. Instead, he was recording the beginning of his own downfall. The sheriff never took my home. Their fraudulent deed never took my property. Their betrayal never destroyed me. They came, believing they were going to take everything from me. In the end, they lost everything themselves, and I walked away with something they could never steal: my peace. Because sometimes revenge is not destroying the people who hurt you. Sometimes revenge is surviving them, rebuilding your life, and letting the truth destroy the lies they built everything upon.